my name is Jen, and here at the Toronto Animals and Conservation Science to Fight Extinction. Today we are excited about camels. So here at Toronto Zoo, we have a total of 6 Bactrian camels. We have 4 girls and 2 boys. One of our boys, his name is Zip. You can actually he's kind of hanging around right over there. If you can see him, he's a big blonde guy. He is our bull, so that means he's an intact male, and he is our breeding male that we use. And then we also have another male. His name is Jamarcus. He is the youngest of our camels here. He is 4 years old. And he is the nephew and the half-brother to Sally and Josie here. We do have Sally, who's just kind of enjoying some cubes. Sally is our oldest camel here at the Toronto Zoo. She is 28 years old. Camels can live anywhere from their late teens to sometimes early 30s. With Sally and me here, right now behind us, we have Josie. Josie is Sally's daughter. She is going to be 6 years old this summer. She was born in June. And so she's kind of middle. We do have another female. Her name is Soraya. She was not born here at the Toronto Zoo, but she did come to us when she was just about a year old. So she's been here most of her life. We do go in with our camels here at the Toronto Zoo. We start going in with them from the time they're born and they're babies, and we start working with them. We feel it's very important to be very hands-on with our camels. Because we're so hands-on with them, we're able to halter them up. We can take them for walks. Some of our camels, we can actually even check their feet on a regular basis. So like I said, Josie was born here, as was Jamarcus, and we do have another camel. You guys may recognize her if you come around the zoo sometimes. Her name is Tilly. Tilly is most known because her tongue hangs out. We do often get the question about Tilly, why does her tongue hang out? Well, the reason being is because when Tilly was born, unfortunately she was born on March 1st in the middle of a really bad snowstorm, and she was so cold and she was almost frozen to the ground. When her mom tried to get her to stand up, she broke her jaw. Our wonderful staff here at the Toronto Zoo then hand raised her to make sure that she survived and did very well. So because of that, her tongue does hang out because her jaw is slightly off kilter. But Tilly is about 9-10 years old right now. And she is doing perfectly well, so that doesn't inhibit her at all. Now, for those of you that come to visit our zoo when we are open, you may notice that sometimes you'll see our camels set up in different ways. A lot of times we do get the question, why is one camel separate from the other? We do have multiple reasons why our camels may be in slightly different groups. These guys are herd animals, so we generally will try to keep them in a herd setting as much as possible. But sometimes either due to breeding reasons, medical, or even just herd dynamics, we will often sometimes have to separate them off. Right now, Zip is off on his own because he is in what's called rut. So rut is sort of a breeding season. It's when the males kind of only have one thing on their brain. Now with camels, they do have a 13-month gestation period. So that means they're pregnant for 13 months. Now, because we always want to ensure that our babies have the strongest chance of survival, we only make sure that we put Zip in with our girls for breeding between April to September. This way, we're going to make sure that we always have a baby born in the slightly warmer months. So Zip right now, he's been off on his own for the winter time, but come the spring, we'll make sure that he goes back in with at least one or a couple of our girls. Now, we are trying to actively breed here at the Toronto Zoo, so fingers crossed that we do have some baby camels coming up in the future, but we'll all just have to wait and see what happens. So Bactrian camels are camels that are found in Mongolia. They're found in the Gobi Desert, and they also can be found along the Silk Road in northern China. So these guys are actually kind of perfect for the weather here that we get in Toronto. These guys can tolerate temperatures anywhere from about -40 to +40. So right now, our camels are still kind of rocking their winter coat right now. They get this really big, thick winter coat. This keeps them really nice and warm all winter long. Now, we always know when we're starting to get those warmer weathers, these guys are the first ones to tell us, because as we start getting those warmer weathers, these guys will actually start shedding their hair. Some of them are starting to shed right now, although Sally's kind of a little bit behind there. So when our camels start to shed, we We've got some nice brushes for them. So sometimes you'll come by and you'll actually see us out here with our camels, giving them a nice big brush and helping them get rid of all that hair. Much like for you guys that have dogs at home, you probably notice come the springtime they're shedding a lot, and that's because they're getting rid of that winter coat that they have. So these guys are actually going to go almost completely bald. There's Josie coming over to say hi. These guys will go almost completely bald, and then they'll start growing that brand new summer coat back in, and that will just keep growing and growing all the way through the following season. Now, camels are pretty cool animals. I know they look a little bit weird with their humps and their really long necks, but everything about a camel is built for survival in some of the harshest climates that you can find. So we already see that they got that thick coat and then the thinner coat in the summertime to help adapt with the temperatures. They also, with their feet, sometimes if you notice when they're walking around, when a camel steps down, its foot will actually kind of expand out, almost like when you step on a pillow. This kind of acts as a snowshoe for them when they're walking through the snow and the sand. Also, the bottoms of their feet are a little bit calloused. You can sometimes see here too, camels have these very calloused areas on their knees. They also have them on the front of their elbows, and hard to see with Sally here, but they also have this really big, thick, calloused chest plate. So when camels are lying down, they're actually resting all of their kind of points of their bodies on these calloused areas. Now, part of how this helps them is that when these guys having to lay down on the really hot sand, lying down in those calloused areas kind of helps their body from being burnt. We all know how not fun it is to walk on really hot sand. So what else have we got at camels? So obviously they've got their really long necks. So this is allowing them to kind of reach any greenery that they can find. These guys are vegetarians. You can see our guys are kind of munching on some Timothy hay right behind me here. This is the main source of our camels' diet here at the Toronto Zoo. They also get a small little cube. It's a herbivore cube. And this they get twice a day. Sometimes if you come by and you actually don't see any of our camels, whenever we're feeding them their cubes, we like to separate them off to make sure that every camel is getting their individual portion. So if we kind of start at Sally's head there, you can see she's got these really long eyelashes. This will help them in the desert as well to keep the sand and the snow from blowing into their eyes. They've got these really long hair in their ears for the same reason. Now what's really kind of cool, if Sally turns and looks at me for a sec, you can see her wonderful nose here, and you can also see how there's this little split in her lip. Now, because camels are, like I said, living in the desert, and they're kind of known for being able to go long times without food or water. Camels are built to maintain as much moisture as possible and to not lose really anything that they don't need to. So they can close those nostrils off, again, to help stop the sand and the snow. But if they do have anything, sounds kind of gross, but anything that does run out of their nose actually just runs right into that little dip and runs right back into their mouth. Now, because these guys are so adept at maintaining all of their moisture, biggest question, what is stored in a camel's humps? Now, I know most of you guys at home are thinking water. But, surprise, surprise, a camel's hump is actually made of fat. You can kind of see it's a little bit jiggly there when they walk. So, and camels are not born with the humps. When they're born, they're just kind of born with these little flaps of skin. As camels start growing, that's when they'll start building up those fat deposits that are in their humps. So they kind of save all of that moisture and they take all of that food and they store it, they convert it into fat, they store it up in their humps, and they use it when it's absolutely necessary. So what's really interesting is that camel feces are quite small. They kind of look like a little chocolate Timbit. I don't advise eating them. They don't taste very good. And again, for the same reason, is because their body is only expelling the amount of waste that it needs to. Same with their urine. That's why when camels pee, they'll usually pee for a very long time and it smells very strong because they're only getting rid of what they have to. So what I'll do, if you guys have any questions about any of our camels here at the Toronto Zoo or just any of our camels in general, please start throwing them up. We'd be happy to start answering them. There might be some days when you guys are here at the zoo walking around that you might see us out walking our camels. Like I mentioned in the beginning, most of our camels are halter trained, and we sometimes do like to take them out to get exercise or also bring them over to our scale to get weighed. So Sally, for example here, Sally weighs about 1,350 pounds. Somewhere she gets upwards of about 1,400. Josie here, we actually just weighed yesterday, and she weighs 1,475 pounds.
So we have one question about the humps. It's how come some humps are standing up and then some are flopped over?
Great question. So we find with our camels here that it is purely genetic. You can see that Josie does have a little bit of that floppy hump. Her dad's name was Goober. His hump flopped exactly the same way. So we find that it is genetics. Now, some camels in the desert, their humps are a lot smaller, or sometimes when males are in rut, you'll see their humps are also flopped over. This can be because they're not getting the amount of food and nutrients that they need, so they're actually starting to use those fats in their humps. So they can actually take that fat, break it down into food or water, or convert it into an energy source like food or water. So that's how they can go so long without eating or drinking. I'll just note quickly, one of the coolest things that I think about camels, and we can't even see it, and that's their blood cells. So most of us as mammals, we do have round blood cells. Really cool thing about camels is that their blood cells are actually oval looking. The reason why they're this shape is that when a camel does finally get the opportunity to get some water, it can drink a huge amount of water in one sitting. If we were to drink that much water, our blood cells would actually probably burst with the amount of water intake, but because these guys are designed a little bit differently, they can actually drink a whole ton at once.
So somebody wants to know what do they eat here and what's their favorite food?
Well, their favorite food I just happen to have in my pocket. Sally, do you want a treat, babe? So our camel's favorite food is definitely carrots, as Sally is trying to show you. She's also showing you how they have these really cool lips that they can reach out and grab stuff with. They also get, like I said, the Timothy Hayes, the majority of their diet, and then they get those herbivore cubes, just to kind of get the extra vitamins and minerals into them.
So somebody has a question about babies. How long are they pregnant for, and how many babies do they have, and usually how big is the baby when it's born?
So camels are pregnant for 13 months. They generally only have one baby at a time. Twins are possible, but not as common. And the babies are usually between 70 to 100 pounds.
Somebody wants to know how fast can they run?
That one, I am actually not 100%. I think they can run upwards of about 40 kilometers an hour, though.
So somebody wants to know, some people ride camels. Do people ride these camels?
So actually, Sally is the last of our ride camels that we had here at Toronto Zoo. We stopped doing camel rides here at the zoo quite a few years ago now. But in Mongolia, there are actually camel festivals where they do ride their camels. They have camel parades. They'll dress them up in traditional Mongolian wear. And they actually have different contests as the best dressed camels.
Somebody wants to know, how old is a camel before they're considered an adult, and how long do they generally live?
Like I said, these guys can get upwards about their late 20s, sometimes early 30s in captivity. We consider a camel mostly full-grown and sexually mature at about 4 years of age.
Some people want to know, do they have predators in the wild?
Now, these guys do share some of their habitat with snow leopards. So occasionally there are some snow leopards that have been known to take either smaller or baby camels. Generally, though, these guys don't have too many predators because these guys have a pretty killer kick to them. They kick much like a cow. It's actually like a roundhouse kick where they kick out and around. So you always want to be careful. We're always very careful when we're walking around our camels. But these guys are pretty good at defending themselves. They're also really known for biting and spitting to help protect themselves, or if they're just arguing and fighting with each other.
So that was the next question. They want to know about the camel spitting.
That is an excellent question because we Most often get that question from people when they're here at the zoo and they see us in with our camels, or if we're taking them out for the walks. Is the camel going to spit on me? Our camels here at the zoo will generally only spit when they're really upset or when the vets come to visit. So a camel spit is actually more of a projectile vomit. These guys will erupt the full contents of their first stomach. These guys are ruminants, so that everything they're kind of having sit in that rumen that they'll bring back up, reach you, and before they digest, all of that is what's coming up when they do a full spit. Now, our guys quite often will do what I call a warning spit. It's generally whatever saliva is in their mouth, and it's just kind of to let us know that they're not happy, and if we're not careful or stop what we're doing, that we're probably going to get the full spit. I should also note that these guys have excellent aim. So even if you guys are visiting here at the zoo, if our camels are upset at us, they are most likely going to spit on us, not you.
Somebody wants to know, can you tell the difference between males and females just from appearances?
Sometimes. Males can generally, especially bull males, can sometimes be much larger than females. They can get upwards of 2,000 pounds. In terms of outward appearance, no, there is no real physical difference between the two.
Do they have teeth?
They do, but camel teeth are actually very different. We'll try and see if Sally can demonstrate a little bit. So camels have teeth on the bottom. Come here, Sal, what's this up here? But they don't really have too many teeth on the top. So on the top, they have what's called this, it's a plate. And then on the bottom of their mouth is where they'll find their teeth. Now they do have teeth on the top at the very back, but it's using this plate and their teeth is what they use to grind their food up with. Hi, Josie girl. How you doing, sweetheart? So we'll take one more question. Anyone's popping up there?
What animal are they most related to?
So these guys are actually in the camelid family. What the other members that fall into this family are llamas and alpacas. But these guys are the only ones that have humps. There is also dromedary camels as well. Dromedary camels are found in northern Africa and to the Middle East. Those are the ones that people are most used to seeing. Now, one of the kind of ways that you can remember the difference between the two is Bactrians, like a capital B, have two humps, as opposed to dromedary camels that have like a capital D, only have one humps. These ones are also the only ones that are found over in Mongolia and Asia. Llamas and alpacas are found in South America. So that's all the time we have for you guys here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy you got a chance to have a little bit of a closer look at our camels. Please come back and visit us when we do reopen. And I hope you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day.